A very good morning to you. Once again, my name is Apollo Sarah, and thank you for joining us right here on Sunrise at Sea on CTV. Welcome to the Twitter Jabs too. Today we are discussing the plight of persons living with HIV. So when we talked about it in the Twitter Jabs one, we gave you all the insights, all the mixed reactions from social media. And why we're discussing this conversation today is because persons living with HIV stormed the Ministry of Health last week to demand why there is a stock out of some of the drugs, especially the third line drugs and medication. And in studio with me is Mr. Moses Nsubuka, supercharger, TV personality, radio personality. This man is a legend, and he's also an advocate, an HIV advocate who has lived with HIV since 1994. As you can see, he's healthy and well. He's also an HIV advocate at Joint Adherent Brothers and Sisters Against AIDS. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning, supercharger. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, dear?
I'm fine.
I'm really impressed by the way you have organized the place.
Oh, thank you.
And the program is so nice. I was listening to you and watching you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, the Ministry of Health did send out a press release, and they did go on to admit and say that the third line drugs that comprise of duranavir and etravirin and reltagravir and ritonavir, and they went on to say that these have been distributed to the national referral hospitals and 16 regional referral hospitals for the 1,630 clients. They go on to say, contrary to media reports that say that there's a stock out of these drugs, the Ministry of Health would like to clarify that I beg your pardon, etravirin and ritonavir are available at both national and referral hospitals. And they go on to say that, and they acknowledge that duranavir is at risk of expiry at the end of August 2022. However, they did promise and say that they expect 2 deliveries at the end of July. That was supposed to be end of last week, because today is 1st August, and they said the beginning of August 2022. So, Mr. Nsubuka, I'd like to get your view on this. As a stakeholder and as an advocate of persons living with HIV, what is the current status of ARVs available countrywide?
First and foremost, I want to emphasize to Ugandans, like you have just put it, that we are more than 1 million people living with HIV.
Yes.
And 1.2 million people are accessing treatment.
Yes.
Which treatment is supposed to be provided by the government of Uganda.
Free of charge.
Free of charge.
Yes.
Through assistance from partners, donors like PEPFAR and Global Fund.
Yes.
And we must appreciate the government of Uganda for the role they have played. It's like having a wife, serving you and doing all those sorts of things, having nice children. But when she makes a mistake, you don't just keep quiet because she gave you beautiful kids.
Yes.
You need to stand up and say, hey, my beautiful wife, you gave me beautiful kids, but
they need to eat.
They need to, okay.
Yes, they need to be taken care of, yes.
Yeah, but of recent, we've started experiencing stockouts of antiretroviral therapies.
Okay.
And actually on the 14th of last month, of this very month, which is ending, we had a stakeholders meeting, which was organized by PEPFAR.
Yes. And
then we reported this issue, and the officials of Ministry of Health were participating in this very stakeholders meeting because we had realized it happening several times.
Yes. How often?
How often? People stay like 2 weeks without medication, a month without medication, especially third line.
Yes.
And since they have few people on it, there is a tendency of forgetting them. That's what I notice.
But quickly, what are the risks if they are not consistently taking their medication?
Of course, you develop what they call HIV drug resistance.
Yes.
HIV drug resistance is a condition where you reach by and the medications cannot work for you anymore.
Yes.
And the reason why they are on third line is because they experienced resistance on first line.
Yes.
And they experienced resistance on second line.
Yes.
And they were switched to the third line, and it's the last. So it means if third line fails, they're just going to die.
No, that's...
So
Yes.
That statement which you have just read from the Minister of Health, it's really perturbed me. It looked like they were not accepting the problem. And that's really very bad.
Yes.
Because 2 weeks ago, we had a PEPFAR stakeholders meeting, and the SCPE programs manager, Joshua Musinguzi,
yes,
we put it to him and Dr. Cordelia, and they accepted and they said, we know that there's a problem. Some medications have been missing out, but we are doing the very best to make sure that these medications are coming. And we pressed, and they said these medications are coming next week.
Yes.
They didn't come next week. That's why we stormed the Minister of Health.
Yes.
That is actually what forced us to storm the Minister of Health, because previously they had promised that the medications will be in the hospitals and were not there. So after storming the Minister of Health, we were going to State House.
Yes.
That's when they reacted and came out with that press statement,
yes,
trying to deny. But the truth is that we experience persistent stockouts of medications in the country, and it's really very bad.
yes,
The major concern is that these folks on third line have no alternative. Two, in a situation where there is stockout, we have no any kind of guidelines on what you should do as a health worker to a client without medication.
yes,
What do you tell him? Do you tell him to wait until the medications come? Do you tell him to take a certain tab as he waits?
as an alternative,
As an
they wait,
alternative,
yes.
as he waits? Do you tell him to go back to second line? Because each health worker is just doing his own. We are missing a guideline, some kind of guideline in such a situation.
Yes.
And it's really very, very important, because some folks were given second line, that you keep taking second line as you wait for third line.
And is that advisable? Does that even help if you have to now go back to a medication that you already proved to be resistant to? Is it any
We
help?
don't know, because it is the Minister of Health actually to tell us, because it is the entity which releases the guidelines, the health guidelines.
Yes.
It's the one which is supposed to guide all health workers in the country.
All right.
That in case like this, they even never released any kind of statement during the stockouts.
Yes.
They should have released a statement trying to guide health workers that we are experiencing this problem. And meanwhile, tell the client to do this, or tell them to come back on this day.
Yes.
But people were just jumping from one treatment center from another. People were even borrowing medications from others. Do you still have? You give me tablets for 2 days, and it was happening.
Yes.
But I felt so bad as an advocate when it's called the Director General of Health Services in the Ministry of Health.
Yes.
He's the one who released that statement, when he was actually denying that actually it never happened. And yet 2 weeks ago, Dr. Musinguzi and Dr. Cordelia admitted and said, yes, it is true.
That there's a stock out.
There's a stockouts of medications, and we are doing the very best. The medication never came after 1 week, and they again promised us that it is coming. It never came the second week.
Yes.
That's why we stormed the Ministry of Health.
All right. Well, it is also reported that people who are on first-line medicines are about 95.5%, while 4.4% are on second-line medication and 0.1% on third-line treatment. This is why I would a bit concur with you when you say that people who are on third line are the minority.
They're minority.
And they can easily be, sidestepped.
Yeah, we have that tendency in
That's
Africa
true.
of forgetting the minorities, and that's really very bad.
Exactly.
When you even look at our new infections, occur so much in minorities because people forget all about them.
Yes.
Yeah, and I can give you a very good example of a country, United States.
Yes.
It's the most powerful country in the nation. But if you capture an American, like you capture him and keep him somewhere,
Yes.
and announce that I have him here, in this country, Americans will release 1 million soldiers to come and rescue that one that one person. I just want to give it. So even if a person is one like this, because why did he put those different in that statement? to show that actually the 0.6 is not so significant. But to me, it's really very significant. 1,600 people on the third line, that's a big number.
Yes.
And remember, 95% of that 0.6 of the 1,600 are children.
That's true.
Are children below the age of 24. Remember, these are children. Children who are supposed to take medication for 90 years. They are on the third line, and you are not giving them correctly.
Exactly.
So they have no future if they keep missing medications.
Exactly. So I'd like to ask you, besides the ARV stockout, what other challenges are people living with HIV struggling with? What are their challenges?
Several challenges.
Yes.
And the biggest challenge, I would say, is stigma.
Let's talk about that, yes.
Yeah, stigma.
Stigma.
Stigma. Remember, I used to be a very prominent, I'll give you an example of myself.
Yes.
I used to be a very prominent radio and television presenter. I used to be one of the most prominent musicians in the country.
Yes.
But the minute I came out publicly and announced that I'm HIV positive, I need to help people to curb this virus.
Yes.
I'm coming out open to teach people, to educate people on how to take medications, to educate people living with HIV, the importance of not infecting others.
Others, yes.
But not everyone took it rightly, especially people in the entertainment industry. I started losing out business. People could not work with me because of my HIV status. People were inviting me to sing on their weddings before could not. There's no way we can invite a person living with HIV, a musician, to come and sing on our wedding. So even the people who used to work with me shied away.
Yes.
That's just one example of so many examples happening.
All right.
And stigma prevents people from accessing treatment. You know?
That is true.
In the entertainment industry, 90% of the musicians you see on stage right now, 90% of them are HIV positive. But the way access medication is really very troubling. And I help majority of them to access these medications. But I can't mention their names because I'm not allowed.
Confidentiality.
But I just want to tell you, but they face a lot of time. By the time they call me to help them, it's already too late. Sometimes it's too late. And you see them struggling to access medication. They can't go to a health center with their dreadlocks because everyone will notice, hey,
yes. Yes.
Hey, even this one. So they face a lot of challenge, and this goes to almost everyone living with HIV.
All right.
Children in secondary schools, in schools, even primary schools, are not taking their medications correctly because of being stigmatized by other children and even the teachers themselves.
Do the stigmatizing as well, and also harassing the children just because of their HIV status.
Take an example. When the term is beginning, children report to school with their suitcases.
Yes.
And you know what normally happens in schools?
They check.
They check the cases and the bags. You are in line. They just open the case, choo-choo. And your medications are all over in the case. And they will just throw away things, checking to see. And other children will start asking, what are these medications for? And they start from there. And you don't blame them because even the school has no program to empower them.
Yes.
That actually this child has no problem at all.
Yes.
She can take her medications. She has no problem. She has never done anything bad to anybody. She never slept with someone to get the virus. She was just born with it.
Yes.
There is no kind of program in schools. So it happens. Even the teachers themselves, some of them stigmatize children who are living with HIV.
That is true.
Yeah. And as a government has no program to empower these teachers on what should be done on these children.
All right. So my next question is, where do you think the stigma stems from? Is it ignorance? Is it fear? Is it I don't even know what else to call it. And how can we stop the stigma?
That's a very important question, and thank you so much. Stigma stems from ignorance. Because science, why do people stigmatize us? They stigmatize us because they think we are infectious. Now, if you have a beautiful daughter and your beautiful daughter wakes up one day and tells you, Mommy, I'm getting married to Supercharger, you'll say, eh? Fearing that actually Supercharger will infect your
daughter. Yes.
Because you are ignorant. Science has proved that when you are on treatment and you take it correctly and you reach a stage called undetectable, you cannot infect your partner.
Yes.
This is science, evidence.
How do you attain undetectable?
Undetectable by taking the medications correctly as prescribed by a health worker.
Consistently as
Consistently
well.
and correctly.
Yes.
This was a big global study called HPTN 052, funded by NIH, National Institute of Health. HPTN 052 proved beyond reasonable doubt that when you treat Supercharger and he takes his medications correctly, he cannot infect his partner.
Right.
I've lived with my partner for 16 years. She has never got HIV. She has 2 little babies. They are all negative. And the mom is negative. And I don't use a condom. I can't lie to you.
Yes.
I don't use a condom with her. And she makes sure, because she's empowered,
yes,
she's always supporting me to take my medications correctly.
Yes.
Because she is empowered. She's not ignorant.
Yes.
Now, this is the challenge we have. People are ignorant. That's why they are stigmatized us. They think we are infectious. Embassies here in Uganda giving visas.
Yes.
Some embassies cannot give you a visa when you are HIV positive. You know very well.
Yes.
Arabian countries.
That's true.
To go there, you are tested first. That's a violation of my right. That's a violation of a human right to subject me to an HIV test so that I can go to an Arabian country to work. That's a violation of human rights. But they are doing it because of ignorance. They fear that actually when we go to their countries, we shall infect their people. When we go to their countries, we shall fall sick and become a burden.
Yes.
And become a burden to their states. But that's not true. All you need to do is let the person take the medication correctly and he can receive equal opportunities available like a negative person.
All right. So UNAIDS did set the mission by 2030 the world to be free of HIV and AIDS as a deadly health risk. So what can we do collectively to ensure that happens?
I just want to correct that. We can't end HIV.
We cannot?
We cannot, but we can end AIDS.
All right.
By 2030.
Yes.
You cannot end HIV by 2030 without a cure. But you can say we can end AIDS by 2030 because HIV is a virus.
Yes.
That will always be in my body until the cure is found.
Yes.
Yeah? But you can end AIDS, people falling sick and
yes. Getting to chronic stages.
Surging viral loads,
yes,
which leads to infecting others. That's what we call ending AIDS.
Yes.
And UNAIDS sent 3 major targets,
all right,
which are called 95, 95, 95.
Yes.
The first 95, UNAIDS is saying, actually, those targets were picked from the other study which I told you.
Yes.
HPTN 052.
Yes.
After HPTN 052 released the results that actually a person on treatment who has detected undetectable levels cannot infect others, UNAIDS said, hey, why don't we tell everyone, every country to identify people with HIV and put them on treatment?
Yes.
If treatment prevents infections. You
yes,
see? That's why they brought that program 95, 95, 95. First 95 is that identify people living with HIV. At least 95% of people living with HIV.
Yes.
Identify them. After identifying them, then the second 95, put them on treatment.
Yes.
At least strive to make sure that at least of all people you have identified to be living with HIV after testing them, 95 must be on treatment. And they didn't stop there. They went to the third 95 and say, hey, all countries, after you have identified and put on treatment,
yes,
let's go to the third 95. Make sure at least of all people you have put on treatment, 95 are virally suppressed. In other words, they are undetectable. Which means when they are undetectable, they will not infect others.
Yes.
When they are undetectable, they will have a good life. When they are undetectable, they will have negative babies. But here is a scenario. What makes me undetectable is medication, and it is stock out. It's not provided.
And that's
People
where the problem is, yes.
Go to the clinics and the medications are not there. Which means if I stay off treatment for 2 weeks, the viral load will go up and I will infect my partner. If it is a lady, if you're a lady and you're off treatment and you're pregnant, you'll have a positive baby.
Yes.
So that's why we stand up and say, hey, government, you need to own up this.
Yes.
And I'm very supportive of this government. But when they are in a wrong, I can't say you are right because I support you. I always partner with the Minister of Health in so many campaigns. I didn't come out with my colleagues, the civil society, just because we hate or what we do. No. It's just because we wanted things to move in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, why is it that the HIV prevalence is higher in women than it is in men? Because a report did go on to say that the prevalence of HIV among adults aged 15 to 64 in Uganda is 6.2%, with 7.6 among females and 4.7 among males. And goes on to say this corresponds to approximately 1.2 million people aged between 15 and 65 years old living with HIV in Uganda, like you stated earlier. It also goes on to say that HIV prevalence is higher among women living in urban areas, and that is at 9.8% than those living in rural areas at 6.7%.
Yeah. One of the reasons, there are several reasons as to why HIV prevalence is so much in women. One of the reasons is our culture.
All right.
The way a man is brought up in Africa is like the controller.
Yeah.
Is the control of everything, and even it comes to the relationships. A man will sleep with several women around there and come and sleep with you. And he will not let you sleep with other men when he's even also when he's misbehaving. So I just want to give you an example. Very innocent women get infected. Very innocent women get entangled into sexual networks. They don't even know. 2, women don't have a control over the prevention tools that we have. Even if you know that your husband is misbehaving, you cannot insist on him using a condom. He will even slap you. In our culture, a man decides on everything, you know? So that's why we are advocating for introduction of tools like pre-exposure prophylaxis to every person who wants it. Because if you see your husband misbehaving and he doesn't want to wear a condom on you, you can take your PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis.
But when you do take your PrEP, does it become like a normal routine? You take it all the time, or you have to take it once? And there are side effects to, you know, perhaps my fear is perhaps misusing the drug.
No, you take it every day, but then they're introducing what they call long-acting PrEP.
Okay.
Whereby you don't have to take it every day. You just go for an injection. There's cabotegravir, pre-exposure prophylaxis injection. It's already being rolled out in the United States of America, in France, in England. I was there recently. Folks were receiving it since very well. But the point I wanted to make is that you as a woman, you have no control over these prevention tools. You cannot insist on your husband using a condom. You cannot go to the hospital to access the prevention tools. In most cases, they are not even there. Or they will tell, because in Africa right now, they're saying the pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is here, is for most at-risk people, like the commercial, the sex workers, like the MSM, like the trans people, but not the general women. It should be the general women to access these tools because they are at the highest risk. And another thing, when you look at our population, women are more than men.
That's true.
Maybe that's another reason also. But the major reason is the nature of our culture. A woman has no control over the prevention tools which can save her from getting infected.
All right, now
The gender-based violence, you see,
that is
it's
true.
on young girls, especially girls being forced into
sexual acts
without even protection, and then eventually get infected. So many things. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the advocacy that you work for. That is Joint Adherent Brothers and Sisters Against AIDS.
Yeah.
Please talk to us and let us know about your mandate.
Joint Adherent Brothers and Sisters Against AIDS. It's a registered community-based organization.
All right.
Which I co-founded with fellow colleagues some years back, and intended to empower fellow people living with HIV about the importance of their treatment. It offers psychosocial support to these people already on treatment, and to support them to take their medications correctly. It rehabilitates those who have failed treatment, because remember, in the country, we don't have any form of rehabilitation structure.
Yes.
It's not there in the country. So we are currently setting up what they call an adherence, orientation, and rehabilitation center at a place called Sanga Matuga. It's like 12 miles away from Kampala at Matuga. You know Matuga?
Yes.
Mabanda?
Yes.
Then as you take Sem to the first town called Sanga, next to the factory of iron. That's where we are setting and building an adherence, orientation, and rehabilitation center.
All right.
We have no funders, and we get support from different friends. We have failed to get funding because the people who are funding HIV activities basically fund commodities, like the drugs.
The drugs, all right.
They can't buy you a sandal, a car, a car of blocks, cement. They don't fund construction. So it's up to you to figure out and construct. Then when the program starts, that's when they can inject money. They fund programs, not construction. So right now we are constructing the center locally.
All right.
And I appeal to your bosses, if you're there listening, if they can offer us a bag of cement, even one bag of cement like this, towards this amazing project, is really very welcome. Even you, if you can offer us a bag of cement, we can collect it, or you can bring it to the center and have a look at it. Every year, I celebrate, like my birthday is celebrated at that site.
Yes.
I celebrate my years of living with HIV. And this year, I'll be celebrating 30 years of living with HIV.
Yes.
And it will be the last Friday of September.
Yes.
So I invite all you colleagues to come and join me and see the status of the site.
Yes.
And also get to meet all other, because I invite almost all representative of people living with HIV networks in the country. Yeah.
Yes. And how many people do you work with in the program?
100.
100.
But these are volunteers.
Yes.
Because like I told you, we don't have any kind of funding.
Yes.
We get volunteers, people living with HIV volunteer to support. Like, I've been invited here to come and speak here. I'm from home. Nobody funds it, but if you don't have transport, you can call a fat person and he helps you, sends you a border or sends you a car. So we come together and fight together as people living with HIV.
Yes.
And then we also partner with other existing civil society organizations who are already funded. So if they have like a function and they want us to participate, we can go. They can facilitate us to go and make a presentation, because our presentations are basically musical. We use drama to communicate to people.
Yes.
Such things. Yeah.
Exactly. Art is a better way to express yourself as opposed to talking. People are a lot more captivated when you sing, when you dance, when you say poems. My last question to you is, would you advise anybody who has found out that they are positive to come out and disclose it to their loved ones or to the public? Would you advise it? I mean, based on your experience, you did say that when you did come out and you went public with your HIV status, you lost a lot of work, you lost a lot of, respect from a lot of people around you, and it affected you in a way. Would you advise for somebody to take the same route?
Disclosing is something very important, and I would advise any person, especially adults living with HIV, to disclose. But they should take time. You don't just wake up one day and disclose. You need to prepare yourself, and you need even indirectly prepare your partner.
Okay.
Many people have lost relationship after disclosing to their partners.
Yes.
Because partners are not prepared. You need to use your health worker,
Yes.
psychosocial supporter, to find ways of supporting you disclose to this partner a better way.
Yes.
So what do you get when you disclose? First of all, you can't get support without the people knowing your problem. One of the problems I faced in 1994 when I tested HIV positive, I took 4 years without disclosing my status to other people who could even offer support to me. So I ended up falling sick every day, and they could not support me because I had not told them. But after opening up, some people, okay, stigmatized me, but then other people supported me.
Yes.
So in other words, if you need support, you need to come out.
Yes.
But how do you come out? It's really very, very important.
Is it also important who you come out to?
Yeah, that also very. You don't just have to come. Not like, because me, supercharger, I'm a public figure.
That's yes.
But I'm not advising everyone to go on radio and say, hey, I'm HIV positive. For what? You don't have to do that. Me, I'm doing it because I'm a public figure. I'm a lesson. People get a lesson from me,
yes,
especially young persons. And so you don't have to be like me to come out on radio stations, but you need to tell your partner.
Yes.
Because when you tell your partner, she will know how to protect herself, and she will even know how to support you. But how you tell her is really very important.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much, Supercharger, for joining me today. And I would like to let you just leave us with some parting shots.
Yeah. First of all, yes, I want to thank you for inviting me. I want to thank the Ministry of Health,
yes,
for the great work they have done in the fight against HIV/AIDS. Because really, treating 1.3 million people is not easy.
Yes.
It's not easy. They are doing really an amazing job. But I want to remind them that even if you are doing that amazing work, and I see a blink or I see a spot in your good work, I will not keep quiet. As an advocate, I will stand up and tell you. And when I tell you, please don't get annoyed. I'm just doing it for the good of this country. 2, there's a lot of stigma in schools like we have discussed. But the solution to this stigma and the way people take medication in school is introduction of long-acting therapies.
Yes.
Please, the government of Uganda should look into this. Long-acting therapy injections are already in the market internationally, whereby you inject a child an injection in holiday, and he gets another one in holiday. And he doesn't have to take medications every day in schools.
Yes.
So why do they have to carry medication in schools when we have this intervention?
That's true.
Just bring it for children. You can say for a start, we don't have a lot of money, but we can buy it for children.
Yes.
And there are not so many, because there are below 200,000 children living with HIV.
Yes.
Yeah, it's affordable. So I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Uganda AIDS Commission. I want to thank the people who fund the medication. They are doing an amazing job. And I also want to thank my wife, Mama Immune. She's, we have 2 beautiful sons. One is called Immune, and another one is called Cure.
Oh.
Immune and Cure.
You literally called your children Immune and Cure.
Yeah, the other one is Cure, Rahim, then Immune, Ryan.
Actually, sounds very cute.
Cute, like
Immune,
their father is
Ryan.
Moses.
Yes.
Supercharged.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Supercharger, for joining me today on Sunrise at Sea. This conversation has absolutely been very insightful and very pleasant. You're such a delight. Thank you so much for joining us. Just to give you just a bit of a fun fact about HIV, the earliest known case of HIV infection in human blood is from a sample that was taken in 1959, and it was from a man who died in Kinshasa, which at the time was Belgian Congo. And just like Supercharger has said, that we may not be able to ever eradicate HIV, but however, we can end AIDS by 2030. So please test frequently, know your HIV status. It is very important. Please practice safe sex. It's very important. And in the event that you find out that you're HIV positive, please go and get medical assistance, get counseling. It is very important so that we can all move forward the best way we can. That is all I had for you on this segment of the Twitter Jabs, but more is coming up on Sunrise at Sea. Stay tuned because our views is coming up, and today we're going to be talking about aspirations. And if you should aspire to one thing today, is to end AIDS by 2030. This is Sunrise at Sea. Don't blink.